Or like, who do you think would be the one that represents you the most, like out of all of them, like right now?
Oh, all the characters that I've played.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a tough one, John. I, I've been around a little bit, so I have to think back. But
Nerd Reactor, roll out.
John Nguyen here. I'm with Dustin Nguyen, the legend. You're my legend just because I don't know, we can go way back to, let's say, VIP. I watched VIP and and just come on, we have the same last name.
hmm
And just
it's a fun show, John.
yeah.
I had one of the best times working on that show. First of all, it's a really cool character, and the show winks at itself. So
Yeah. And I
bunch of
feel like
beautiful
I get
ladies.
I gotta go back to 21 Jump Street too, but that's like maybe a refresher. I don't know what it's streaming on, but I definitely have to check that again. Like just to remind myself of just the crazy adventures. I don't know if you have any fond memories of. Let's go back. Okay, VIP. Like, what's the one fondest memory you have of VIP?
Well, aside from working with wonderful women. I mean, they were gorgeous women. They're really, truly wonderful women. Uh, but I think the most fun I had was I get to do my one of my big passions at the time, which is racing motorcycles and particularly Ducati bikes. And I was able to get to introduce. I venture to say back then Ducati wasn't very well known in America yet. For the average, bike person, it's Honda and Suzuki and all that. So I was through my relationship with Ducati, I was able to get the Ducati bikes on the show and it got featured quite a bit. And so that was a very cool thing. Yeah.
It was like your little input. It's like
Yeah,
let's
because
let's bring
every
some of
every
this.
every character had a special car in there, if you remember, have their own vehicle. And I didn't want to have a car, and I said, hey, what if I think my character Johnny, what if Johnny rides a really cool bike, and look at these bikes, Ducati bikes, and I sent them pictures. And at the time, they had no idea what they. Of course, then when they saw what the Ducati bikes looked like, they're like, yeah, it's a sexy bike. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And then let's go back to 21 Jump Street, and it's that one. I feel like that's like the catapult for you, right? I don't know how it feels like for you on your end, but for me, I'm like, I think this is
Well, it,
Dustin's
it
next, yeah.
was it was my first big thing. All of us, really, all of us were kids. We were now early 20, 21, 22 years old. Landed this first big show for all of us. Well, at the time, we didn't know it was going to be a big show. We just happy to have a job. And and it was a terrific writing, ahead of its time in terms of multicultural, and ahead of its time in terms of addressing teen angst in a setting that everyone can relate to, high school, where it's arguably one of the toughest environment to go through your puberty,
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it was a tremendous experience, and it became a huge show, which was um, major surprise for all of us.
Oh yeah, something about just high school and just like let's say like for me, I'm watching Stranger Things now, and it's just
hmm
watching these kids just going through their adventures, and it just brings me back to like when I was a kid, and just like oh, I can relate to this.
Nostalgic, it's an important part of life, I think, nostalgia.
Oh
And
yeah.
if a show is done well, it can bring back a lot of pleasant memories, or
Oh
maybe
yeah.
not so pleasant memories.
I'm pretty sure there's some pleasant memories for I think for both of us, and so yeah, it's crazy times. But fast forward to just now, right? Like I feel like um for me at least, I'm watching like a bunch of your projects now, and it's like, oh man, Dustin, he's like for me, I was like, okay, you're on this Apple TV Plus show, you're in Dope Thief, and then
Yeah,
you're in
and it's a
the
dope
Axe.
show.
It's a dope show. And then you're in the upcoming movie, The Accidental Getaway Driver. I'm like, I feel like this is the month. Oh, it's March right now, right? Yeah. So this is a
Yeah.
month for you.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's actually all two projects in the same month. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And I'm
Oh, great.
pretty sure as an actor, like when you're doing these, it's like probably months and years doing these, and then you're not sure when they're gonna come out. And so when it comes out, it's like,
Well, you do them, and if you're lucky, you move on to the next job, which was the case with me in the last 3 or 4 years. And just, I think I've been working nonstop with like four different projects, and once you finish, I don't know about other actors, but you finish, especially moving on to the next thing. It's kind of out of your hands, and of course, you're excited when you find out when it's going to come out and all of that, and people's reception towards it. But and yeah, in general, you kind of just once you finish it, it's out of your mind,
yeah,
until it
yeah.
comes out, and then you just hope that you know it's not cringe worthy.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's one of these projects because it's like a collaborative effort, but you never know like the final product because it can go either way. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing it long enough. There are check boxes, if you will, that kind of ease your mind and give you some confidence, particularly, of course, the script, and then the people that is doing it is very important. When you have people like Ridley Scott, Peter Craig, Oscar nominated people, actors, writers, producers, Accidental Getaway Driver, even though it was a tiny little film, the script was incredible. One of the best scripts I've read in my career. And you've got a director that no one's ever heard of, Sing Lee, who has a fantastic vision on it when I met him. You've got amazing producers like Barbara Broccoli, who produces the James Bond movie. You got producers that from Thunder Road, who did all the John Wick movies. It's a very eclectic group of people, and you got some other ladies behind the scene, um, you know, K period drama over there. Another female producer that really who did Manchester by the Sea. So you can kind of see the kind of people that it is behind a project gives you confidence, and then the rest is up to God. But things like that gives you an indication. Uh, First of all, is it worthwhile to do? I mean, aside from making a living, Warrior is another example. The series Warrior. I mean, the concept it was written by Bruce Lee, and Justin Lin is going to be the executive producer on it, and Jonathan Chopra, who did Banshee. So, when you hear about these people, and Shannon Lee is very involved because she manages the Bruce Lee estate, so it's hard to lose. You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's never a sure thing, but you know what I mean.
But Warrior was just a kick-ass show, and just everyone in it just brings out just like they're all, and then also the brutality and just the setting, the period piece. It
Mhm.
was cool to see that. And I think okay, so I recently watched the Accidental Getaway Driver, and so there is a scene we can talk about the in general, like the concept of it because it's in Vietnamese and some parts are in English, and so I'm like, all right, this is gonna be like here, released here, and then so people's gonna like watch it in Vietnamese. What is that for you, like that feeling?
For me, it is always, uh, and I don't get the chance to do it much. It's always a privilege to be able to act in my mother's tongue. It was a strong desire of mine ever since I started acting, and of course, it's very rare you get an opportunities like that. And the first time I got to do it is when ironically, I had to go back to Vietnam to do a Vietnamese film called The Rebel, which is another fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Arguably the best movie ever come out of Vietnam. It's about the Vietnamese people rising up against the French colonization.
Ooh.
But but it's the first time I got to speak Vietnamese, in a film, and then of course, Accidental Getaway Driver, um, and 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 it's done well, which is also very important because I've seen projects where Vietnamese characters speak in Hollywood on screen, and it's awful. It's not accurate, and so it's a privilege. It's a privilege to speak your mother's tongue, doing something you love.
Yeah. And I was wondering for this project because there's a lot of the dialogue. Do you have a lot of input on just the dialogue? Because um, Dope Thief, like I'm going to switch back between Dope Thief and this because in Dope Thief you also get to speak Vietnamese too, and then
That's
also
true. That's true.
uh, you have the family aspect in that one, and also I think you because I had a chance to talk to the showrunner, for Dope Thief,
Peter,
and
Peter
yeah,
Craig, yeah,
Peter, and he
yeah.
mentioned about you and how you helped him with like the Vietnamese stuff.
Yeah, I did. Peter completely trusted me with it, which was a pleasure. He didn't bring on an interpreter or anything like that. He completely trusted me to do the translation, and I wholeheartedly um, give him everything, all the extra time he needed. Make sure the translation works well and it's appropriate. And so I was very, very grateful for that. He knew it was important. It's important for him too, because Peter, you know, I don't know how long you spoke with him, but he cares a lot about what he does, and it showed. And he's such a wonderful writer. Not only he wants the Vietnamese language done right, but also right for film dialogue too. There's a big difference in terms of nuances. And Accidental Getaway Driver is the same thing. I before I signed on, I said to Sing Lee, the director, I said, one of my big conditions is I have to have final say uh, on in the translation of the language. I don't want to be, a dictator about it, but
Yeah, but you want the
I don't want to
authenticity.
be, I don't want to be like ended up doing, bad Vietnamese. And if you're not comfortable with that, then I'm not going to do it. That's just that's simple. And not only my dialogue, but I want to make sure everybody's dialogue in the film. And we had a fantastic interpreter that was working with the producers already, but it was a very good translation, but it's very academic. It wasn't life, and it wasn't cinematic, and
Yeah,
these kind of things. I'm not patting myself in the back. I feel kind of silly talking about it so much, but it takes a lot of work, John.
yeah,
Uh, from me, from the consultants, from Joseph Hugh, Jess Vu worked on it. This wonderful. I don't remember her name. She was a professor at Irvine. We all worked very hard on it, and that's what it takes to get it as good as possible. And only the Vietnamese people would appreciate it. But to me,
yeah.
that means more than anything.
Oh
We've
yeah,
had responses from screenings with Vietnamese people come up and say, "Oh my God, this is the first film we not only the language is done right, but the nuances of our language is tricky. It's not just I and you. It depends on the subject pronouns. It depends on the relationship, the age, your particular place in society. All of these
yeah,
things, and with each subject pronoun comes with a very subtle emotional punch that comes with it. And when a Vietnamese person hears it, they get that emotional thing that non-Vietnamese don't get reading subtitles.
yeah.
But anyway, that I carried on a little too
Oh
much
no, no,
about
no.
it.
That's good.
Only because
And
I'm
you mentioned,
excited about it. I'm glad you asked, and like I said, we all worked so hard on it, and I'm grateful that people are responding well to it.
yeah, and I feel like it's not like you patting yourself in the back. I feel like it's just you want to respect it because for me it reminds me of was it Hiroyuki who was doing Shogun and he wanted to make
Oh,
sure the Japanese stuff was like as good as possible and he was like,
mhm.
all right, we got to do it this way and make sure like the way the people talk, the way they dress and all that. So it's yeah, I get it. It's like a big it's a big thing.
Well, because it takes so much time, John, a lot of productions don't take the time to do it, and
Yeah.
they're under pressure, and it's like, okay, that's good enough. No one's gonna know except for Vietnamese people. I hear that a lot. Well, that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
With the Vietnamese over here, right? And it's wrong. Yeah, I can't live with that.
And I'm pretty sure there's like some project you've done, and then it's like, I tried my best.
Yeah. Well, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's all
And
you can
then,
do.
okay, so I do want to talk about there's one moment in the Accidental Getaway Driver that I get to see you just really, just your performance and just breaking and just really giving it your all. And I want to ask about like, what was that thing? Like, do you have to get into like a mode for that, or can you like
You talking
just
about
switch
towards
it
the end
on
of the
and off?
film?
Yes.
You talking about, yeah, I don't want to give away but too much, but um first of all, maybe we should do a quick, because most audience who haven't seen the film doesn't know
Oh
what it's
yeah,
about.
yeah, for sure.
Based on a, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's
Go ahead.
based on a true story about three guys escaped from Orange County Prison about around 2016. They kidnapped an old taxi driver and held him hostage in their effort to get out of the country before the uh, the law catches up with them. And so that's the story of what the movie is about. So the scene that you're talking about, particularly to the end, right? And again, we don't want to give away too much, I suppose, but every scene in that movie has a challenge, but that scene was the one scene that was in the original GQ article, which I don't know if you read it or not. It's if you haven't, it's interesting to read that article. That GQ magazine was the first one that broke the story in mainstream media. And in that article, which they have sent me in the beginning when there was no script, uh, uh, there was a line of dialogue that the writer Paul Kix kept that my character said to the old man, which is, "I'm so tired." And that line resonated with me so much when I read that article in terms of the emotional weight of it and the pressure that weighs on a man or individual to the point where they just can't take it anymore, because we all have been so tired at some point of our life, relatively speaking. And so the scene you're talking about, it's funny because by the time we got around to shooting that scene, um, we didn't. First of all, we didn't do it. Me and Mr. Hip, who played Longmar, the driver. We had absolutely no rehearsal whatsoever at all, and I think some of it was due to the logistic, him living in France, but a lot of it, I think, Sing Lee, the director, purposely didn't want us to interact. Now, I did a lot of prep on my own with the director, of course, on my own character, but so with him and I, we never rehearsed anything, and so it was. By the time we got around to shooting that scene, of course, we've gotten to get acquainted with each other, sort of, and it's one of those things. As an actor, I remember Singh had asked me what my thoughts were, and if I had an idea what I was going to do, and I told him honestly, I don't, because a lot of it has to do with, and it sounds like a cop out, or I didn't prepare as an actor. I did actually a lot, but it depends on what my co-star was going to do. I had no idea what he was going to do, and the logistics of shooting that, we were running out of light, daylight. It was getting dark, and all of the things that you encounter when you're making a movie that doesn't exactly sometimes makes your acting harder, the process. And so you asked me where it came from. I honestly don't know, and I think Singh, after the first take, he came up to me and he might have said that there, and maybe not, maybe afterwards. He said kind of a similar thing. He did. He said, "God," he said, "Geez, I don't know where did that come from." And a lot of times, John, you don't know where it's coming from. At least for me, because I feel like whether you're an actor or a singer or painter, artist, any kind of quote unquote artist, you know, I, you don't really do anything. I don't believe that I do anything. I believe there's a collective creative consciousness that is out there in the universe and we tap into it, or we are sort of like the instrument or the conduit. And if you're lucky, on that particular moment, if your instruments are sharp and you're ready and you've done enough preparation and your instruments is ready, that creative force will flow through you at that moment, you know. That is like winning the lottery, you know, I think for artists. So most of the times you really don't know how and where it comes from. At that point, it just kind of flowing through you. I don't know if it makes any sense.
Yeah, so it's just
That
you should channel it, right? Yeah, it's just
Yeah, you can call it that for sure, you know, but your instruments has to be ready and your prep has to be ready, I believe.
yeah.
And then if you're lucky, you get that moment, you know, and that's one of the big pleasures I think a lot of actors would tell you when you get it and you feel it is that high, you know, not at the time because it can be very painful at the time or whatever the particular emotion is, but afterwards when you look back at it, it's a high you get, you know, it's kind of like feeling at one with the universe or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that yeah, but yeah, that scene, just the I love how just the dialogue, just the intimacy and just going to back and forth. And so it just
Mhm.
feels like there's a weight to it, especially what happens. But yeah, once you guys that are watching, you understand.
It's an incredible story, first of all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just the fact that it really happened, it's an incredible story, and Sing and the producers and everybody, again, I'm so grateful that not only they got behind this project, but there's so many different versions of this story that you can make. And everybody got behind Sing's vision, which is he's not interested in the sort of like the kidnapping, breaking out of prison kind of thing. He was interested in, as you know, really examine the toxic masculinity that men faces in society, and the fragility that comes with it, and the isolation, and yeah, the isolation, the loneliness that comes with all of these things that these men faces. That I think a lot
Yeah.
of men, or people in general, certainly men, can relate on a universal level. I think it's
Yeah.
more than a Vietnamese American.
Hmm.
Would you agree? Or
Yeah, yeah. Just that whole I feel like the two of the projects coming out this month has like that same theme, like with Dope Thief too,
yeah,
with dealing
family,
with
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
seeking a place to belong is
Yeah.
another theme of the accidental, certainly big theme. Yeah,
Yeah.
dope thief. Oddly, you're absolutely right. You know, and of course, the Vietnamese character I play in Dope Thief is another tremendous representation of our people in this country that I have never seen before on TV or film. Right?
Yeah.
Again, without giving it away, but and this is not a giving it away, but you know, Peter Craig, when I first met him, his pitch to me was, you know, I wrote a Vietnamese Tony Soprano. I don't know if he told you that when you
It
talked to
did
him, but
yeah.
I'm sold right there. You know, I without even reading the script, I said to Craig,
Yeah.
Peter, I said, I'm sold, man. Vietnamese Tony Soprano, you know,
Yeah.
with a Philly accent. I'm in.
Oh
How
yeah, yeah, because
refreshing.
yeah.
Right?
Dope Thief, Philadelphia, Brian Tyree Henry,
Mhm.
just these guys doing like the fake agent to steal from the drug dealers
Drug
and
dealer.
all that. And because I was watching it, I'm like, Brian's character Ray was just like texting or messaging, and then I saw the name like, oh, Sun Fam. I'm like, that sounds like it's Vietnamese. So, and then when you show up, I'm like, all right, we're in this.
But
And
did you
uh,
expect that kind of a character when I showed up? Or you had no idea yet, right?
I had no idea. I went in blind. I went
Yeah,
in
yeah.
blind. Yeah, and I
That's
was like,
that's the
oh,
refreshing part of that character, you know. And then
yeah,
just when you think you kind of know who he is, of course I don't want to give it
yeah,
away. There's a
yeah.
whole thing that, you know, at the end. But anyway, yeah, that's what made it so refreshing. And I feel fortunate that I had two projects, you know, coming on the heel of each other that were just so refreshing. And in the 30 something years that I've worked in this business, these two projects are like the best thing that ever come my way. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been lucky. I've done some really great things and fun things. I've never done anything where I felt embarrassed about or that it misrepresent the Asian American man. Not that I'm out there, waving banner or anything like that, but um, I've always been sensitive about how we are represented in the media, and I try my best to steer clear of anything that sort of doesn't do it justice. But it's luck, to find these two projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel the same way as you because when I'm watching it, I'm going in blind and I'm not sure what's going to happen to your character. And I'm watching it. I'm like the last episode, and I was like, okay. He's like, you got a big meaty role in this series. I'm like, that's just like on Apple TV Plus, and people's gonna watch it. And you kick ass in this. There's like moments where I'm like, oh, don't mess with this guy. And so like, I think that was it just makes me excited and happy to see that in play.
Yeah, thank you. And again, I've said it many times to Peter afterwards, Peter Craig, the showrunner. I thanked him, I said, I'm really grateful that you wrote something so interesting. And I'm excited for people to see it. But Apple, man, they do great shows.
Oh yeah.
They work with top-notch people.
Oh yeah, you're like there with the Severance and then Ted Lasso. I'm expecting to see you on Ted Lasso and Severance.
Oh, anything Apple do, I'll jump on for sure.
Yeah.
Anytime, any day.
And
Yeah.
what I really liked about the just Dope Thief, your character, because you've got the family dynamic, but then you're also dealing with the illegal stuff, the drug stuff, and then it's like the balancing of it's like what's gonna happen, and
Keeping the
like
family
I'm rooting
together.
for you.
Yeah, again, it's that family theme, keeping the family
Yeah.
together, and everybody essentially just trying to take care of their family, whether it's blood family or non-blood family, which I love the idea that it doesn't necessarily has to be blood family. My relationship with Brian's character, but yeah, yeah, it's a timeless theme, right? Family.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I want to ask you like just like I guess say could be a fun question, right? Like in terms of like your past roles and like who do you think would be the one that represents you the most, like out of all of them, like right now?
Oh, all the characters that I've played.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a tough one, John. I've been around a little bit, so I have to think back, but it's not that hard, only because progressively things have gotten better for me as I age in terms of the quality of the characters. Best, most represented me. It's hard to say because there's always a part of you that's in any of the character that you play. I mean, there's a strong part of me in Sun Farm, and Dope Thief. And I mean, I don't do drugs, but in terms of, again, trying to live the American life, keeping the family together, there's definitely a big part of me. And I mentioned it in Accidental Getaway Driver, big in terms of the kind of adjustment. And I think you too, John, all of us who comes here who were not born in America, who comes here and having to sort of figure it out how to fit in and struggle with that, for a long time. And sometimes I still struggle with in a sense where I never feel like I'm completely Vietnamese, even when I was living in Vietnam for 11 years. I think I went back there and lived there, and as much as I immersed myself in it, and even though my Vietnamese was quite good, um, they never accepted me as a Vietnamese. And then when you're in America, you know, nobody's like throwing rocks at me, but you're not American.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
You
I've
know what
dealt
I'm
with
talking
that.
about.
Like just
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me, like I got bullies and I'll be like the only Asian guy in school. So of course I'm a big target. Yeah.
So that part of me was so very strong in terms of how it helped me with Tay's character, um, and what he's going through, or at least as a launching pad to extrapolate what he would be like.
Yeah. And I think with this, we're almost at the end time. So I want to end this interview with that note. And I just want to say, Dustin, it's been a pleasure. And also, you mentioned Jess Vu, right? So Jess Vu,
Yeah,
she's done
the
stuff for me with Reactor
ambassador.
before. Yeah. So, uh, and I'm like, she's like everywhere now. So it's cool.
Well, not to butt in, but I do want to. I just got some good news today that our movie, Accidental Getaway Driver, has been expanded into at least 60, 70 theaters
All right.
all over the country now. So I'm really pleased to hear that, and I hope everybody spread the word to go see this wonderful little film. But that was the great news we got today.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah. The Accidental Getaway Driver, Dope Thief. I don't know anything else you want to say. Last words.
Well, those two are the most current,
Yeah.
and they both are very different, but definitely worth watching. I highly recommend it. And again, I'm not to beat the horse to death, but it's some of the finest, not because I'm in it, but some of the finest Vietnamese American representation in the media in terms of complexity and
Yeah.
nuance. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then me watching it, like I was like, please be good, please be good, please be good. And I've
Yeah.
enjoyed it. It's very riveting, engaging, and yeah, definitely check it out. Yeah, both of them this month. But with that said, Dustin, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And yeah, it's like great things are coming. Like it's gonna continue for you. So
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate
yeah,
it. I had a lot of fun talking. It's always nice to talk to another Vietnamese who understands some of the nuances of of what we all go through, as
yeah,
Vietnamese American in this country.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we all have done very well in this country. I'm very proud of the Vietnamese diaspora, um,
Oh yeah,
in
especially
all
like
aspects. All aspects.
2025 and beyond. It's just gonna. I feel
Yeah,
like things are getting better.
yeah.
All
Well,
right,
great.
Dustin.
Thank you for your time.
All
All
right, take care.